Hello and welcome. My name is Tara Kapitoff and I'm going to be talking about fear in this video. Now, if you caught some of my other posts, I did just upload a podcast recently on fear. So I do recommend taking a listen to that because fear is an experience, a trait that we all have within ourselves. Now, fear can come out in so many different ways. It can relate to love, to maybe not wanting to open our heart or let someone in because we don't want to face pain or we don't want to face sadness or sorrow. It can be fear of speaking our voice, being in front of camera, being in front of people. It can be fear of being criticized and shamed. It's similar goes to what I just mentioned of putting ourselves out there. The fear holds us back and can be very debilitating and limiting with our ability to be our true authentic self, from shining, from sharing ourselves with the world. Now, this is something that I know very, very well. And like I said, we all have fear. We all have fear. We're human. We have these limitations within ourselves, and fear is the biggest one of all. And fear can also affect the body. And I won't go so much into the body, but definitely do pay attention to your body when you are about to do something different, when you are about to put yourself out there, when you are about to maybe start a new business or step into the unknown. The fear will become triggered and activate certain aspects within our body. And it can become very obvious. It can even hold us back, suppress us, create low energy, fatigue, for example. So the fear is a very, very powerful and strong energy, and we all have it, and we can easily suppress it. And by suppressing, I mean it's avoidance, it's ignoring it. It is living in a certain way of life and becoming comfortable in that vibration, in that frequency, or in that reality. And if we succumb to fear, and if we live within fear, and if we let it suppress us, then yes, there could be body ailments and diseases and aches and pains that will show up in the body, but we are truly dimming our soul. We're truly dimming our light and our potential from living a limitless life. And by limitless, I mean free from the lower energies that hold us down. And if I could describe fear as a feeling, it would definitely be weight. The weight that we feel when we have a bit of heaviness to us. Fear can also bring up anxiety. It can bring up a lot of confusion, a lot of uncertainty, questioning ourselves. Who am I? Where am I going? What am I doing? It could really bring up a lot of things within ourselves when we want to create success, when we want to step into a relationship. Relationships are great as well, because when we open our heart and when we start to become vulnerable with someone, we open ourselves up for the vulnerability of potentially being attacked or hurt or taken advantage of. And those are old fears and old programs that have not been resolved, if that is the case, if that are some of the things that you may experience when you open your heart, for example. And I'm also speaking from experience. I've had to overcome fear in many different areas of my life. If I was doing this a year ago, which I was doing a year ago, I was just starting to get comfortable putting myself in front of camera. Now I love it. It's nothing. But I've had to break through barriers constantly. And if you can just focus on maybe one thing that makes you nervous every day, you will overcome your fears. You will overcome your fears. But we are all doing ourselves a disservice by letting fear override our life and override our experiences. But of course, fear comes in two different ways. One is subconscious, one is conscious. One is the conscious fear that we can recognize within ourselves. Maybe, for example, like I said, public speaking, or not that everyone has to be a public speaker by any means, but just feeling comfortable speaking your voice, comfortable being you, not shying away from things, not playing small around certain things or people or events, just being comfortable in your skin, being comfortable with who you are, and not, again, shying away from it. So that could be a very obvious fear, but sometimes the feeling of it may be very comfortable, and we can easily live in that fear our entire life until we decide to work through it, until we decide to dismantle it. And for myself, I was done with fear. I was tired of it. I was tired of being limited. I was tired of trying to find ways around dodging bullets in my corporate life and in my work environment. I was afraid of showing up, so nervous that I could barely form two words together, it was enough for me. I didn't want to live that way anymore. And especially with love, wanting to just express love openly and have a limitless experience with love and relationships and people, especially if you've lost trust. And for me, I did. For years, I lost trust in people because I was attracting so many really difficult situations and relationships in my life. And so I went into the complete opposite of absolute shutdown. I went from being out and engaging with people to complete isolation. And it has taken time to rebuild that. And it is a process, but fear, like I said, can be very debilitating and we can become very comfortable in it. But it is up to us to take the steps and make the initiative to create the change, to get out there, to engage with people, to meet people. If you have a fear of meeting people or a fear of meeting the wrong people, then focus on the kind of people and the kind of relationships that you want. And this is what I've also had to do, is reconstruct my network and reconstruct people who I want in my life. And it's worked. And I've met the most amazing and incredible people since I started being very conscious and very aware around the kind of relationships that I wanted in my life, but also being very conscious and aware about who I wanted to be, what made me feel good, or where I felt the most content and the most at peace with myself. And of course, like everything, law of attraction, what we attract and what we create in our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. And if we are attracting toxic relationships or unhealthy relationships or just toxicity in general, then we need to look inward and understand what is the mirror of my reality showing me? What do I need to face within myself that may need to be released or looked at or healed? There also could be a fear of ourselves, fear of how strong we can be, a fear of how strong and powerful our voice could be, fear of how potent we could be, the change that we could create in the world, the change that we can create with communities, the change that we can create with people. We could also have suppressed energies. Even this comes from childhood, it comes from early life, our experiences, being suppressed and having our personal potency not understood as far as how valuable it could really be. And this is going to limit us as well. And that's why it's really important to be comfortable with who we really are at the foundation, who you really are, and not being afraid to let that shine. Sometimes we might feel, am I being too outgoing? Am I being too outrageous? Am I being too loud? Am I being too confident? Scrap it. Don't let that fear override your experience and who you want to be and how you want to express yourself in the world. And this is a journey. This is a bit of testing as you go, moving into the direction that you want. Even if you just take step by step, you're at least moving in the right direction. At least you're moving into the direction for you and something that is important for you. And it is really important to constantly challenge our fears. And like I said, even if it's going out in public, meeting new people, expanding your network, do it. If you've been comfortable for a while in your comfort zone, get out of it. In little steps even. It doesn't have to be a big, massive announcement to the world, although you can do it that way. But it also can just be incremental steps at your comfort level. As long as, again, as I said, you are moving yourself in that direction and expanding your comfort zone, then that is where the change is going to lie. And we do need to feel a bit nervous about these things. That is where we are going to find our lessons. That is where we're going to find our growth. So do check out my podcast. I will leave a link below for fear and how fear can be limiting possibly you from your goals and from living life to your fullest potential. And it is a great time always, as I mentioned, to keep conquering the fear.